Hi, welcome to Split Your Head. I'm your host, Bob, and today I've got a special guest on, Scott Philip Goergens, a Baltimore-based visual artist, author, but most importantly, filmmaker of one of the most extreme horror films I've ever seen. This film, in fact, is 29 Needles. It's been out since 2019, and you can get the Blu-ray through Honors Films. And I've got Scott here today to talk about this mammoth piece of underground cinema that's guaranteed to make an impact on you. So, Scott, hello, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. It's great to chat, especially after such a monumental film. From what I understand, it took was it 10 years to make?
Uh, yeah, I mean, that wasn't all the filming. The
Right.
filming probably was about year and a half, 2 years,
Okay.
um, on like available weekends or days or whatever, whenever the weather was nice, or overcast, or people were
Cool.
available.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Right.
yeah.
Right.
So and then the rest of the time was just because everything was volunteer. So
Mm.
I edited it myself, and then I worked with the sound designer and my
Andrew.
friend
Right.
Andrew. Yep, he
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
scored the film too, so it was a very intimate back and forth, regular meeting conversation, and he was volunteering his time over the years to do it. So he was fixing in that time a lot of the issues that came up with um, my budgetary restraints.
Right, because you recorded the sound with the on-camera mic, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. No, it sounds great considering that. Honestly, I think most other people when they do that, it doesn't. Obviously you were in good hands. Like Andrew has a good ear, and he totally fixed that,
yeah.
so
He
wasn't an
fixed it, and
issue
it's
at
still
all.
obvious, so it's not that I would do that again. I was stuck with a one-person crew, which is myself. So,
Right, right.
yeah. So it was what I was able to do with what I had. So,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
But at the same time, like considering the content of the film, I think you wouldn't have been able to pull off some of that stuff with a full crew, really.
it would
I
have
could
been
be
difficult.
wrong, but
It could have been difficult.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And I mean, having Andrew involved with the sound too, I feel like really helped the overall kind of atmosphere building. Because so you like Scott sent me a link to watch the screener, and I was watching off my laptop, and I found that like the sound was kind of traveling like through my laptop to the point where I had to put on headphones, and that's when I really got. It was almost like there's like this like it's gonna sound so hyperbolic, but like a tornado in slow motion is kind of how I would describe the sound design. Like
yeah.
I feel like you guys really got into that aspect of it.
Yeah, he was. We had a lot of discussion around it. I kind of gave him a lot of prompters and here and there, but left so much to his control. I gave him feelings, and then stuff. There was some stuff that I kind of created with weird sounds, and he used that as a launching pad,
Okay.
and some of it even stuck. Uh, but yeah, I wanted kind of very non-traditional and almost non-instrument sounds. So he used a lot of
Mm,
things like banging radiators and glasses and singing
right.
bowls and things like that. So yeah,
Yeah, you
and
can
he's
definitely get that.
skilled.
Yeah, no, no. The sound design score was phenomenal. It was
Yeah,
such a helpful part of like building the world.
yeah.
Was Andrew and I'll ask this as respectfully as possible. Was Andrew like was he okay with seeing these visions like over and over again?
I think you get kind of desensitized somewhat. So he
I
did,
could
and
see
I
that.
he initially, I mean, I told him all what it was about, and he's like,
Yeah.
sure, whatever. Um, and and it gets to a point where I think it's like desensitizing, and
Mm.
you just kind of got to work with it. But it was a because we're good friends.
Right.
It was a uh, there was a lot of humor in in and around us trying to work with this. I mean, there was a lot of laughing in regards to trying to create this very somber, dark, and nihilistic kind of tone,
Yeah.
but we're laughing in the background and having fun, and it's like this is so like yeah, it's like okay, yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah,
No, I can totally see that because, obviously the film is devastating. It's really like kind of tragic in a way. And then watching the behind the scenes featurette, you tell a story about one man that you encountered like during the auditioning process that had a kink that was like almost like pranking people that shit themselves.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and when you said that story, I was like, okay, so this guy does have a sense of humor. 'Cause it's so dark, but like it is kind of hilarious too.
Yeah, yeah, it was just like, "What?" Yeah, so, I mean, nothing towards anybody's kinks, but I think that, it should be maybe, uh, mutual. The person should
Oh yes,
it shouldn't be
yeah,
like they're pranked into like, "Gotcha." Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, it's like, "Okay, maybe I don't need you
yeah.
on the set." Yeah,
No, no,
yeah,
that would have been maybe like a liability. I think,
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and then you might have even ended up shitting yourself at some
Yeah,
point. So
exactly, I don't need that.
yeah,
I gotta work the camera. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So,
That's funny, yeah.
yeah.
But did you kind of encounter like a lot of people like that? Like yeah, as I understand, it took you a year of kind of sifting through different personal ads and
Yeah,
trying to find the right people. I feel like that must have given you so much research in a way to do this.
it did, and in truth, I mean, I truly tried to incorporate a lot of stuff that I had read about that were real fetishes and
Okay.
knew people that had done some things. Obviously, there was extreme, and I didn't know people that had done some of these extreme things, but there's stories on the internet that people have done certain things like
Yeah.
amputation, for pleasure, which is
Yeah.
yeah, that's extreme. And
Yeah.
but the people that I interviewed, it's like people. I wanted to get because I had to go, like I said, with people. I felt that the way my approach was to get people that were willing to do some of these things that were required um, for the movie first, and then see how I could make them, act and work on camera, and then go that way as
Mm.
opposed to the opposite. Which I don't know if that was the right way or not, but that was the way with the low budget and everything that I was doing. I was like, oh, okay, I'll try it this way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so it took a lot of weeding out and finding a lot of people that were saying that they were interested in doing it and seemed to be 100% on board. And then there were a lot of test shoots, and I did
Mm.
that purposefully um, to see if they would show up, and most of them didn't. So I had to work with the
Oh.
people that were willing to show up. So because sometimes,
Yeah.
when the rubber meets the road, it's like, oh, okay, well, maybe I don't want to do this, so
Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah,
And I think also too, like if we're getting into kind of self-harm stuff,
yeah,
there can be like a mental health link to that too,
yeah,
right? So,
yeah.
and I'm sure there are people that like engage in those kind of kinks from like a healthy place, but
Oh yeah,
I think
yeah,
unfortunately there is like a dark side to it, or can be. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah. But it makes sense then to me at least that you would go in that direction because getting like an actor and then saying, so, but do you want to do this as well? Would take a lot more communication and
yeah,
negotiation, you know? And
yeah,
from what I remember in the film, like majority of the acts outside of Brooke were non-speaking parts, weren't
yeah.
they?
Which made it
Yeah,
easy.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So there was yeah, a majority. So some of them were just like um, at that amputation. There was an amputation scene. That person spoke a little bit, but there wasn't much speaking, and it was you know
Yeah.
um, yeah. So
Wait, did that make it in the film?
I read that there were people that amputation was a thing, and that people would do that, and there would be
Yeah.
surgical procedures and stuff, and it was a kink.
Right, right.
And so I kind of wanted to go that direction and incorporate that. So I thought that I would do that in this fisting scenario
Right.
where it was an amputation, and um,
I that looks simulated to me, so I
it
didn't know
was
that.
it was.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I'm not going to do that for real. Yeah, nobody actually got hurt for real.
Oh, really?
Nobody got hurt for real. Yeah, that was
Not even
definitely
Brooke.
simulated.
Not even. Oh no, in that scene though,
No, there was no real blood
in the whole film.
in the whole film. Yeah,
Okay, so the only thing simulated was sex.
no, the sex was real.
Oh, sorry, unsimulated. That's what I meant.
Yeah,
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 yeah. So the sex was real, but none of the violence was real.
no,
Really?
yeah,
Okay. Honestly, Scott, I thought like half of it was real.
good.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. No, I was so convinced.
I
There
feel
was
like if you made it subtle enough that if you went like straight in and did everything like overboard, like um, just the subtle little cuts at times, that was all fake. Yeah.
okay.
Um,
Um so again, I don't want to spoil it, but like
the
the
needles,
needle and the testicles,
that's
like
fake. That was fake.
okay, that looked very real. Okay.
Yeah, it
Wow.
did. Good, good.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay. No,
yeah,
no. So have you been getting reactions like this then? Like
yeah,
similar to mine of oh, that's awesome. Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Wow. Okay.
yeah.
Well, that really
Well,
like
so
oh,
here's the
sorry, go
thing.
ahead.
Brooke wanted to um, do some of the needle play,
Okay.
and I was afraid of. It's very sensitive that doing something like that. If something could happen and a
Yeah,
hospitalization would occur, I wouldn't want that. And no matter, I wouldn't want to be responsible for somebody else's you know,
for sure.
medical problem because of that. So I'm like,
Yeah.
we're going to keep this all like, in the head and special effects. So yeah,
Wow. There was
yeah,
one other scene. I think I can say it where I'm
yeah.
not spoiling it, but you'll know what I'm talking about. I will say it's towards the end involving a knife and a shower. Do you know what
No,
I'm
it's
talking
fake.
about?
No, it's
Yeah,
fake.
wow. Okay. I actually thought that was real. And I was like, wow. Like, Brooke, I can't believe Brooke did that. But it
Yeah,
was all, wow. Okay.
yeah,
That's
that was fake.
amazing.
And yeah, there was, and yeah, for time I had to cut that scene down, but it was one of those that was like an endurance, like I drug out. So there was like times where you see like it cut away.
Hmm.
The original uh, filming was one shot, and
Hmm.
that it went on a while, and so it was more effective even that way. But I had to. It went on for a few more minutes, and I was just like, I gotta trim this down for
Yeah,
for time, and just and is it important to have this? But I felt like it was even more effective, not trimmed, because you could see that really there was no time for anybody to sneak in blood or yeah. So
oh, so elongating the scene would have made it look more realistic?
I think so. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around that. Like I feel but you put I mean this is kind of a weird thing, but like did you put extended scenes on the Blu-ray like so people
No.
could watch? No?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. There wasn't
Huh.
much to extend, so I don't know if that was important or not. But who knows? Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like the real gore hounds would eat that up. Like
They
what?
probably would.
Yeah.
They probably would.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
you do you consider yourself a gore hound?
Um. Certain stuff.
Okay.
I think that if there's I feel like when there's reason for it, it can be
Yeah.
really interesting. And um, knowing that it's fake, I don't watch I can't watch surgeries like
Oh,
and
okay.
stuff like that for real. When I know it's real, or like
Yeah.
any of that type of stuff. I mean, an autopsy is one thing because the person's dead, but and if it's just
Yeah.
all very clinical and but I'm like the other stuff. I'm like, no, that's when I know it's fake. I think that's just there's just something really fascinating and interesting about that. So,
Totally.
um, but if there's reason for it and it feels like it's part of the story and important, then it can be a lot of fun. But
Yeah.
otherwise, I think I'm more in the psychological kind of aspect of
Sure.
things. Yeah.
So
So
what drew you to wanting to make such an extreme film then? Like if you have not like an intense passion for that stuff like that?
well, I guess that two parts to that answer would
Mhm.
be I do have an interest in gore, and it can be a lot of fun, and especially
Mhm.
when it's just like when it's just really fun and
Yeah.
ridiculous. But if it's just uh, 90 minutes of um,
Like
I mean, even
splatter.
Martyrs, like the French Martyrs,
Oh yeah, yeah.
that was it's horrific and gory, but it's a fantastic film,
Yeah,
and
for
and
sure.
it's got purpose and it's well done, and I thought that was wonderful. But
Mhm.
there was a reason and there's a story to it, and so yeah. But with me, I mean, I think that I wanted to create something that was really uh, it's this character study. It's this descent. It's this person, and it felt very
Mhm.
necessary to kind of lift the veil and expose what this person would be seeing and going through. And and a filtered version wouldn't make sense to me. Um,
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know, so
Mm.
that was where I felt like this is how the story is, and so okay, it's because of that it's extreme.
Yeah,
Does that
yeah.
make sense?
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah,
the story necessitates the extremity of it,
yeah,
right? So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. But so in terms of it being kind of like it's sort of like a descent in a way, right? Like a
It
character
is.
study that's a
Yeah,
full-on descent. And I mean, this is probably really like cliched comparison, but American Psycho definitely came to mind. And from what I understand, like Bret Easton Ellis wrote that book almost as like a metaphor for him dealing with depression. And so I guess I kind of wonder if there's any sort of like, did you know anyone in your life that kind of went through a decline, or was there any sort of like metaphorical thing that you would attach this story to?
I would say uh, depression is something, certainly an element, but I think addiction
Yeah,
is a huge element, and I think we probably all know people that suffer with addiction, and
yeah,
just being caught up in that and trapped in it, and just feeling like you know uh, it's easier to go down further than work your way up. You know,
yeah, yeah.
so I wanted to
Do
see
you
that side. So
do you mind me asking? Like, is that something that you've had struggles with
no,
at all, or no?
no,
Okay, okay, just curious.
thankfully
Yeah,
no. Yeah,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I
No, it's
do
terrible.
and I do know, and I also um, I know people with mental health issues,
Yeah, same.
and that was an element too. And when you kind of take some of that, and it was all in my playing around in my head, and just thinking about that and the
Mm,
struggles of that, and feeling like nobody understands your world, and the help that they want to give you isn't the help that you understand for yourself.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Were there any characters in the film that were kind of helping Brooks' character?
um, well, the mysterious character that enters
Right.
was more of like you know
Felt like the
leading
enabler.
the enabler,
Yeah.
leading Brooke down this path of self
Yeah.
destruction. So, yeah,
With Hans being the enabler more or less, I guess when you said in terms of someone helping out Brooks' character and that relating to someone in real life, like trying to help someone with mental health problems, um, you weren't necessarily referring to an enabler though in someone's like real life, were
correct.
you? Yeah, so you're referring more to someone trying to help someone who's going through like addiction or mental health issues. Did
Yeah,
that
yeah.
element at all come up in 29 Needles? Like, was there maybe a previous draft that had like someone trying to pull Brooke out of this like
No,
descent? No.
no,
So it was
no.
always just like going right to the
Yeah,
core, like send
because
Brooke all the way.
because um, the character is very solitary.
Hmm.
As you could tell, there wasn't even an indicator that there was any family, there was any job, there was anything, except for the girlfriend, the occasional girlfriend. And so there was
Oh
nobody
wait,
really.
who's the girlfriend?
The girlfriend that the hookup that uh, was there, Dorothea.
Like
That
the shorter woman with like short hair?
with the
Okay, okay.
bluish, so that was,
Right, okay,
yeah,
okay.
that was actually Brooke's real girlfriend in real life. So
Oh, okay, cool,
yeah,
cool. So
yeah,
she was
so
involved with it. Okay.
yeah, yeah, um, yeah. So it was. I think that if you're solo, there's less people willing to kind of pull somebody out of that descent because they don't
Yeah.
have that investment. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you think that there's maybe like an overall message that you wanted to get out about the film then, considering it has sort of like, I don't want to say like a political connection to it, but it does feel like weirdly relevant right now considering what's been going on with like the fentanyl crisis and everything.
So I have, this might not be the answer you want, but I do have ideas about uh, the direction of the film and the messages.
Okay.
But I feel like the most important thing is what the viewer interprets for themselves.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and um, I don't want, sometimes explaining it from my standpoint can take away other people's take in a way. So I feel like it
Sure,
is
sure.
to the viewer it is what it is. So as with art,
Hmm.
a painting. If somebody sees a painting and that's what it means to them, then the painter explaining that this is what it means, then it almost robs them of that
Hmm.
in a way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I agree. I guess I'm always just interested in like the multi layers of it. I think that also art can have like a history of different interpretations, you know?
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I this is such a weird anecdote, but it was just making me think about this band that I used to listen to in high school called this is such a tangent. This band Thursday, they had this song called Understanding in a Car Crash, which as a kid I thought was about heartbreak. And then
Okay.
I found out years later that it was actually literally about a car crash and the singer
Okay.
losing his friends in a car crash. And I was so bummed because I was like, but I related to it because I was like such a lonely kid. But
Yeah.
then later on in life, I actually had people that I lost in a car accident, and then
Oh,
it actually took on a different meaning. And so that tangent, basically connecting back to what you're saying, I do feel like it's this is probably why it's interesting for people to hear the different interpretations is because especially with your work being this is such a long tangent with your work being like such a huge film in a way and making such an impact that I think people could return to it at certain points and maybe find the more literal interpretations of it as being something that they can connect with.
well, and that's exactly what I would hope. And
Yeah.
I've always been a fan of films that or books
Hmm.
that you can read at one stage of your life and get one thing from it, and then get something totally different as you
Yeah.
grow older. And um, now that I've I'm a parent now, and I have
Hmm.
I'm in my middle ages, I suppose.
It's all good.
What I see from the past, now I relate sometimes to the parents' viewpoint in movies,
Sure.
that as a kid I was relating to the kid, and I was like, oh, actually that parent wasn't that bad doing what they're saying. It's like, but
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
like almost villainous in some movies. You're like, oh no, I can kind of understand why they would react that way.
Right,
So
right.
yeah,
Well, I
yeah.
feel like that's a good segue, Scott, because I was actually like looking through your website and saw that you write children's books, or you have written at least one children book. Is that right?
Yeah, I wrote a children's book, and I kind of had one in the back burner for a while that was going to be a series, and it's not done. It's just sitting there. Yeah, so I
Mm.
I I have always loved that as well. So
Yeah.
completely different from from the directing the film that I made.
See,
So yeah,
I
yeah.
would disagree because
Okay.
I felt there were elements that felt almost like obviously I wouldn't put the words childlike fantasy with it,
Yeah.
but you had those recurring characters with like the animal heads that
Yes.
came out, and I couldn't not put that along the side of like, I don't know, like Pan's Labyrinth,
Okay.
or I don't know, like
Yeah.
any kind of more intense sort of mixture of like a child dealing with trauma through fantasy, you know? And I think that more or less that's what Brooke was doing, right?
Certainly. Certainly.
Okay.
There's so I feel like okay, so I paint, and
Right.
I
Yeah.
write and I direct, and so, but I feel like each one has its own compartment. But obviously, there's a thread that's connective, and it's in here.
Hmm.
So they might. It's a person that maybe likes my movie or movies, might not understand the same thing from the books or the painting, the
Mm.
connection. But it's all there. It's all coming from the same space and interpreted differently. So yeah.
Yeah, like I took a look at your art and it was great. I didn't see maybe a lot of visuals that would like I do you have art that contains like animal head people or anything?
Um, no, but monsters.
Monsters? Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
but they're more cute.
Like
You
the
know,
ones that you draw?
yeah, I
Yeah.
call them my Baltimore Monsters.
Oh, okay. It
I
sounds like a
put
sports team.
yeah, the Baltimore Monsters. So yeah, I just put monsters in scenarios, and they're very.
Yeah.
It's very. There's like a young adult kind of children's book quality to some of them. So you
Sure.
know, and
Yeah.
that early HR Puffin stuff influenced
Okay.
me with some of
Sid
the
and
the
Marty
looks.
Krofft.
Yeah, some the looks of some of the creatures. So they're some of
Yeah.
them are creepy. Most of them are goofy. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It
yeah.
kind of made me think a bit of Clive Barker in a way because
Yes,
he did
Clive Barker's influential with the Abarat, and
yeah, or
Thief of Always.
yes. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Cuz that's when I was reading the synopsis of your children's book that immediately came to mind. Are you a fan of that book?
I am a fan of that book, but
Yeah.
uh, I forget which if I read it before writing it or not. But yeah, definitely. And Edward Gorey,
Hmm.
so
I'm
is a
not sure if I'm
fan.
familiar with Edward. Wait, the name sounds familiar. What did he do?
I'm sure you'll know, but he wrote a lot of different little the Gashly Crumb Tinies, the alphabet that
Okay.
if you see the images, you'll recognize them. They're almost always black and white, but
Okay.
um, yeah, E is for Edward, who died of ennui, and it goes through the whole
Hmm.
alphabet. I think it's Edward, but ennui was one of them, and then so it's kids how they died in weird ways,
Oh.
but they're all like little the Grim
Yeah.
Reaper is hanging around, and
Yeah, yeah.
but they go through the alphabet. So, but all of his like the haunted tea cozy, and he
Okay.
wrote a little short story about that. So you'd
Do you,
recognize his work. So Tim Burton was definitely influenced by Edward Gorey. So
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Gotcha. Gotcha.
yeah.
Would you ever delve into like making a children's film?
Uh, I would be up for that. It would be weird.
Okay.
It would be really weird.
Well,
Yes.
weird is good. Weird is
Oh yeah,
good. Yeah.
yeah.
We
There's
need
some
weird.
great
Yeah.
ones out there. There's some great ones that out there that are for children and weird. So yeah.
Like what are your faves?
I don't know. Uh, I like the box trolls was really weird and fun. I
Oh,
don't know
I
if
don't
you
know
ever
that
saw
one.
that, but
Yeah.
it's a stop motion animation
Oh, it's stop
that
motion. Okay.
yeah, by the same house that did um, I'm blanking right now, but
Do you want me to
it's all
Google it?
it's all stop motion animation, and
Yeah.
you'll recognize it. But it's like these box trolls, and they're misunderstood, and they live in boxes, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
everybody's like kind of, and then cheese is a huge element, which is weird, but it's fun. It's fun. So
Yeah.
yeah, um,
Well,
yeah,
I always say that like I grew up watching the original Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or Willy Wonka
yeah,
and the Chocolate
yeah.
Factory, and that to me always felt like the precursor for at least my interest in slasher films
That
because
is a
it
horror film. That is a
totally,
horror film.
but it has like a
Yes.
slasher template to it, does it
Yes, it
not?
does. Yes, it
Yeah, and
does. Yeah.
if you've read was it Carol J. Clover's Men, Women, and Chainsaws?
I haven't read that, no.
Oh, you got to read it. It's so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And she breaks down like the final girl and like all the gender politics that go into slasher films. And I feel like you could draw some lines from,
Yeah.
okay, like the rich girl got killed, you know, the gluttonous girl got killed or
Yep.
boy got killed. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
there are sins connected to
Yes.
that. And
Yeah.
so I think that's why I keep
It's
coming back
Saw.
to
It's
this. It's
Saw.
Saw. Oh, that's true. Yeah, it is. Oh my God, you're so right. It's like the precursor of Saw. So I
Yeah.
do think there's like fertile ground for what you did with 29 Needles and children's
Yeah.
stories. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
there's such a connection there. So it's not
Yeah.
really like it's surprising that I saw that you wrote a children's book, but really I was just more surprised that like well not surprised I guess that's the wrong word but just more thinking like okay how have you dealt with people looking at your art and then finding out about 29 needles after, do you know what I mean, like if they saw it afterwards, like have you had kind of like any kind of negative backlash from that?
Not negative, but if somebody has come into my gallery and seen my art, or read the book and said, "Oh, you made a movie," I said, "Yes, but read the reviews and research it before you have interest in buying it
Mm,
or watching it, because it
yeah.
is completely different and it's not for everybody. It's got a very specific audience." So, yeah.
Yeah,
So I warned
yeah.
them. I was like, I don't know, don't go too far into it. I'm not going to dissuade them, but I say, hey, read the reviews first. Read a little bit about it, So, yeah,
Yeah, I feel like there's a way that you can say it almost just saying there's a lot of sex and violence in it.
there is. Yeah,
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 because really, like that's all it is. And
yeah,
as you've shown today or explained today, that all the
yeah.
violence is simulated.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah, and so I think it doesn't feel as there's not really like entrapment per se of like
yeah,
leading
yeah,
someone into something that they really can't handle
yeah,
because it's all simulated except for the sex. But
yeah,
I mean, whatever. It's just sex, so
yeah.
get over it.
Exactly. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. Did you have like an interest in like the I guess like kinks and like BDSM like prior to the film?
So personally, it's not my.
It's not your
It's
cup
not
of
in
tea.
my. Yeah, it's not in
Yeah,
my. Not in my wheelhouse, or whatever you want to say. But
yeah,
I know a lot of people that it is, and
hmm,
that's their thing. That's fine. But
yeah,
it's very intriguing to me in a way
yeah.
that's like, okay, that's really interesting. I just, and then on a separate level, somebody just sent me yesterday, the day before. There's this guy that spent, I don't know,
Oh
like
no.
tons of money to, because he wanted this specialty suit to be able to walk around in the city as a border collie. Um,
Oh.
yeah, it's like there's something
I
there.
saw that. I
Did
saw
you see
that.
that? I
Yeah.
was like, that is really, it's fascinating to me. I mean, it's
Yeah.
fascinating the same way,
Totally.
but
Yeah.
it's not. It's fascinating because also it's, and I don't. There's no judgment there. It's just it's so foreign to me. So it's
Yeah.
fascinating. Yeah.
I agree. I find like I'm the same way. I'm like super vanilla, but
Yeah.
like but the craziest kinks to me are really fascinating, and I love
Yeah.
listening to like interviews, like podcasts, whatever about it, because I think, and this is sort of the thing I've been formulating as I like listen to all these interviews and stuff, is that the main thing across the board is like clear communication. You have
Yes.
to have 100% crystal communication at all times,
Yeah.
and once the communication starts to like disintegrate, that's when it gets dangerous.
Right.
Do you know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
And but then I also think that that's part of the excitement of it, is knowing that at any moment, if this person doesn't obey my safe word, or doesn't understand my comfort level, or doesn't like it could be really bad, you
Yeah.
know? And I think that feeds into it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I knew a couple that had a dungeon, and they would
Wow.
have people come across the world to stay there and live in a dog cage. And
Whoa.
yeah,
Okay.
and there's an electric chair in there, and all
Yeah.
kinds of other stuff. And but whatever, it's just interesting.
To
It's
each
like,
their own,
okay,
yeah.
there's a guy up there right now. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, yeah.
So, but for you, considering like, you designed this film, it's not like based on a true story or anything. There must be an element of it that like scares you.
That scares me.
Yeah, I mean, it's because you used it in the film to sort of invoke fear in people. Am I wrong in assuming that?
I would say that uh I think it's grim and it's disturbing, but
Right.
more
Yeah.
more from what was happening and what was happening. Yes. So, but it's also completely outside of the fetish world, and
Yeah.
his character is totally separate. So, because there aren't so many boundaries, even though he's working in this safe space, so to speak, in the warehouse where he's able to do
Mm,
a lot of things that he wants. There's everybody's kind of on board with
right.
no rules. It's like we're okay with no rules here, even
Yeah.
that's not what it's. So it's weird. But yeah, I mean, it's not a story that was supposed to make people feel like, I mean, it's a hopeless kind of story. It's sad,
Yeah.
and certainly that's where I was going with it, because some people just aren't able to pull themselves out of it, and that's a scary thing. Yeah. So
Mm,
yeah, it is frightening.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just really like nuanced,
Yeah.
and I didn't get the sense that you were like passing any sort of like moral judgment on it, but
Yeah.
just more the fact that it's sort of like it's an instrument that can be used for like good and evil in a way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
I
Yeah.
think that's sort of like more or less like where you got the horror from, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but going back to what I was saying about the like crystal clear communication, was that something that you kind of had to like employ while working with the actors in a way of just like almost consulting, like how do people, doing these kinks, like how do they talk about it, and then do I need to use that language in order to like direct a scene? Did you have to
So
kind of research that?
there was some of that, but it was more about finding and everybody signed things, what they were willing and interested to do, and then when it came to the scene, we talked about what would happen in it and whether they were going to be okay with that, and then uh, if there was any type of we would stop at certain points if it needed to be like um, adjusted or anything. The only
Right,
one that was
right.
kind of like a little bit, it might have gone a little bit beyond. Maybe not beyond isn't the right word, but there was a rape scene
Oh.
that was uh, one of the character that got raped got an unintentional rug burn. So
Oh.
yeah, so yeah, that was the only thing that was like, oh, we didn't mean for that to happen. Sorry. Yeah. And it wasn't
Oh,
planned
that's
that the
great.
belt was gonna go around the neck, and we're like, "Okay, but okay,"
Oh, okay. I
it's
remember
like,
that scene now.
"Okay,
Yeah.
we gotta stop." So, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I totally forgot that that scene happened because I was thinking like it's this is one of the very few films I've seen where sex is sort of like the main point of horror. That
Yeah,
doesn't it isn't just like pure rape the whole time, you know. And I thought that was
yeah,
really refreshing. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's more like internal, like it's more directed at himself, right? It's like
right, right,
because he's equally sadomasochistic, I guess.
right.
Yeah,
And he's very like sexually driven because I feel like his descent was really like fetish oriented and like extreme um and like with drugs, you need more and more and more to kind of reach some type of space that you're
yeah.
getting something from. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Which is interesting because, from what I understand about like addiction, is that a lot of times as a drug addict, you're trying to chase the feeling of the very first time you did the drug, you know? And I almost wonder if that's like a potential for like a prequel down the road or something of like that character exploring like the first time. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like the first
yeah,
time that really set him on that path.
yeah, yeah,
Maybe just write that down. Keep
yeah,
it.
yeah,
But
yeah.
you have something else in mind that you're working on,
I
don't you?
do. Yes, and so the 29 Needles was more about like this character study of just self destruction,
Hmm.
and this one is more about family, um,
Okay.
and uh, and um, there's I'm trying not to say too much because I don't want to kind of go into too much detail yet because it's still in the
Okay.
working process. But
Yeah.
it's about where this was more about 29 Years was more focused on one character. This is a family unit and focused on their um, their relationship and its problems,
Okay.
and as well as this outside kind of um, perhaps supernatural element coming into play,
Okay.
and and Alzheimer's disease. So
Okay.
it's complicated, but
It's
it's
good.
really interesting to me because I
Yeah.
like to do stuff in layers a bit, and this one it
Totally.
feels like um, and there's gender issues too. So
Okay.
yeah, um, I am working on it, and I'm excited about it. So
Cool.
I'm hoping to begin filming next year. So
Uh, it sounds like you're going pretty safe, Scott. What's going on?
well, I would say that it's not so extreme as that as 29
Hmm.
Needles, and but it's gonna be bizarre.
Okay.
It's gonna be really bizarre. So
Yeah.
don't. It'll be different, but it'll be maybe more accessible to a wider audience because there's not going to be
Yeah.
such extreme like sexual situations. It's just not there because it's
Yeah.
not pertinent to the story. But there's going to be some weird stuff. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, because from what I understand, like you
It'll
can't
still be body
really.
horror.
Oh, okay, cool, cool.
Yeah,
For 29 Needles though, you can't really put it on any sort of streaming platform.
yeah,
Yeah. And I guess like that's a it's an interesting dilemma, you know? It's like if you choose to make something that goes that far, you're really like cutting yourself off from the distribution factor of it.
yeah.
Do you want to talk about that a bit? Or like how.
Well, I mean, I guess. So I wasn't really thinking so much about what that it couldn't be on there. I was like, I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, but there were a couple things in there that I guess just really made it impossible. But I've seen graphic sexual scenes in movies that are on streaming channels.
Yeah.
Uh, but um, when it involves blood, then it's different. So,
Okay.
um, and I guess that's where the line was drawn. If there was any type of pain involved or anything like that, then it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
But with me, I mean, making the movie, I was like, this is the story. I'm going to make it, and it'll reach the audience that it's going to reach.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to compromise the story, so I just kept going, and I
Yeah.
didn't have anybody
Yeah.
to please but myself. So, and then the audience that it reached would be the audience that it reached. So, yeah.
Yeah, and it seemed to do really well. Like it won you a bunch of awards at Nightmare Festival. Like you won Best Film of the Fest, didn't you?
Yes, best of the
Yeah, that's
festival at
awesome.
the festival, and it was nominated for two different awards.
Oh.
So um, that was a surprise when the end of the festival was like, oh, we didn't win that award, and we did not win that award. And it's like, oh, okay,
Uh,
well, that's great though. So oh well, that's fine. We had a lot of fun, you know. And then the last one, I
yeah.
was like, I didn't even know there was another award. So
Oh, right, right,
yeah,
right. Yeah,
yeah.
that's
So
awesome.
yeah, it was.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
but I'm guessing maybe to some extent that that dilemma of like not being able to stream it is sort of playing into the creation of this one, then the next
It
film.
is. It is.
Okay, that's cool.
I think that it would be nice to have it out there. Um, I mean, there's something to people love underground stuff and people love
Hmm.
stuff that's obscure and hard to get. But also when it's good, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and with this next one, I just kind of I did what I wanted to do with 29 Needles, and this one it would be it wouldn't make sense for the story to make it
yeah,
so inaccessible, you know. So
yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
And it's something kind of more connected to like the child book kind of like fantasy elements that we were talking about earlier. It seems.
Uh, maybe it's certainly like what supernatural in a way. Like
Hmm.
I played in 29 Needles a bit with what's real and what's not real,
Right.
and then maybe it's all real, or maybe none of it's real, or whatever, you know. But
Yeah.
um, I think that there will be elements. There will be elements in this one that's the same way, which feels very like fantasy, and you know, in regards to that. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, yeah.
Right on. Are you going to be shooting it in Baltimore?
In Maryland, yeah,
Oh,
in
okay. So somewhere else in the state.
yeah. So it'll be more of a rural setting, like country setting,
Oh, cool.
isolated. So the all of the filming, if not maybe just most of it, will be in that type of this location. It's a one
Yeah.
location kind of thing. So yeah, yeah.
Okay. It almost sounds kind of like folk horror ish. Like once you say the rural aspect of it.
There's certainly an element there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I'm playing around with a few different concepts to kind of really bring. There's an element of nature involved too. So yeah,
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I asked you before we did the interview, films that influenced 29 Needles. You said Cries and Whispers and Crash. I hope this isn't revealing too much, but like, were there any films that are influencing you for this next film?
um, so Crash and Cries and Whispers were certainly they didn't necessarily help me uh, design 29 Needles. Well, they helped me design the tone. I was like
Sure.
I wanted to be in that headspace. So this new movie, um, I don't have anything per se that I'm looking at to kind of keep my headspace in, except for maybe some when I hear a song, um,
Oh.
I'm pulling them aside and saying, okay, this is the headspace I want to be in. Um,
Oh, okay.
so there's something like, yeah, almost folk and tribal into parts of it.
Okay.
Um, and then, just, yeah, subdued.
Hmm.
So,
Tribal, like what area of the world? Tribal.
um, like sound wise, it's not
Yeah.
going to take place there, but like Slavic kind of. There's like,
Oh,
you
okay.
know, like these um, maybe tribal wouldn't be the right word, but that's very much like this. nature and people and connecting in this really unique way. So
That sounds
yeah,
very folk horror.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But there'll be it'll be that, but it'll be with body horror, a lot of body horror in there. So
Okay.
yeah,
I
yeah,
feel like that's that's going to do really well because I feel like all the stuff that you just said like people are really like stoked about, you know, like
good.
body horror has been really popular and folk horror has been like having a kind of resurgence and everything. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then everyone watches it and then they go and they watch 29 Needles after.
They're
And
like, what?
but no, I was thinking about
Yeah,
this earlier like because it took you like a long time to make 29 Needles. In a way, it's kind of like your Eraserhead
yeah, yeah,
because it took him I think like 6 years, and there's that
yeah,
whole story about how there's one scene where is it Jack Nance like opens a door, and then when he walks through the door those two shots were like
yeah,
shot 2 years apart or something. And
yeah.
I just find stories like that really fascinating, you know.
Hmm.
Especially nowadays, it seems like everything is so like get it out fast, get it out fast. Especially
Yeah,
indie filmmaking, you always hear these stories about like, oh, it was shot in a weekend and then that was it, you know.
yeah, yeah,
So it's interesting to hear like how you took this project and like really took your time, like years and years, and you like watching the behind the scenes featurette about it was like, oh, you actually were able to grow and then go back and fix things in the beginning and stuff, you know. That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. This next one, I'm really hoping it to be hoping that it will be like a 2 week project and it'll be done.
Oh, okay.
And
So
yeah,
you are gonna go fast.
but I am, but I also
Yeah.
in a way that's like because the story is so intense.
Hmm.
But this is another situation where the special effects they're going to dictate time as well. So
Oh, okay.
it's not going to be easy to um, well, I'm not doing the special effects, so I don't know. But
Oh,
it might
okay.
not be easy to it might not be easy to do some of these things so quickly. So that it might have to be over a little different period of time than I'm thinking. So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Are are we getting like creatures or something?
Um, there's stuff like similar like that in there. So yeah, it's
You
creepy.
don't like spoiling creatures. That's what
It's
I've come to learn
creepy.
about you.
I think they're fun. Yeah,
Secret creatures.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Did you have like an interest in puppetry as like a kid or?
No, but special effects makeup.
Okay. Yeah.
I did start working with that with a friend. We were thinking that we were going to start this business doing that, and
Oh, cool.
yeah, and we did a few things, and then it just dissolved. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Was this the guy that worked on the stuff in 29 Needles
no,
that was interviewed?
no,
Oh, okay.
no. But it was a guy that had a song or two in the movie. So he went off
Okay.
to
There you
do a
go.
band. He's in Red
Ah,
This
okay.
Ever, and
What
his
are they
name's
called?
Red This Ever,
Read
and
this ever. Okay.
yeah, and the lead singer is Roy Brown, and we were gonna kind of we were I think it was called Vexed Effects, and
Oh, cool.
we were making some just kind of doing what we could, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Did you get to do anything for any films that like I maybe you would have seen or heard
No,
about or
no, unfortunately, no.
okay.
It was just really early. We did some haunted houses, and we
Oh,
did
cool.
some like first aid situations where people had to. So we had to make people look like they had a compound fracture, and
Oh,
so
wow.
we would do that type of stuff. So yeah.
In a haunted house?
No, it's separate. So
Oh.
it's like first aid, like so two separate things. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
That act because I was thinking, I'm like, whoa, what a haunted house. That sounds
That would be good.
amazing.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
like people are dying in there. You're just
yeah,
showing everyone. Die.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
But then you kind of just like I guess you went from that to visual art and then to doing like filmmaking. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that
So
sounds
that
like a
way
good trajectory.
It was, I was like, it's horror and kind of wanted to be part of that. So, and then I realized, um, I still like those like effects, but I liked being behind the camera more, and having fun
Mm,
there. So, yeah,
like the implementing the effects and
yeah,
yeah,
telling my
directing the
story and
effects.
telling my
Yeah.
story and having somebody else kind of be able to do the other stuff. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know. I couldn't even wrap my head around how you do effects. I can't draw for shit, so I don't know.
yeah,
It's always amazing to me that people can do that stuff. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It's fascinating. It's a lot of fun.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So Beyond Horror, the documentary is finally coming out. I've got
Yes.
the pre-order of it on its way to me, so I
Oh,
haven't seen it yet.
I have the original here.
Oh, okay,
It's not on my desk, but I got the it came in a couple days ago. So
okay.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so am I wrong in assuming that you maybe didn't set out to become like such a figurehead of the extreme horror scene, like you seem like your art isn't really like how should I put it, like stuck to that one thing in a way, and I'm just curious, like how do you feel about being like lumped in with all these other directors?
Well, I feel honored,
Mm,
and in a way that it's like, wow, there's a lot of really interesting stuff going on here, and um, some of the stuff. I mean, there's extreme. It seems like it's like this small thing, but
yeah,
in one way, within it, there's a lot of variety there. So some people are
sure,
just like, okay, extreme film. It's you know people puking constantly, and that's an extreme. I mean,
yeah,
it's there, So
yeah,
and
yeah.
you know, and some of it is people really like cutting themselves and or putting needles or doing things like that, and there's a legitimacy to that. People want to see
Mhm.
that, and people are doing that in a safe space or whatever. Um, but then there's other stuff, and um, the American guinea pig stuff, and
Mhm.
so I think it's really interesting, um, and I'm really happy to be part of it. I certainly wasn't setting myself out to be lumped into that, but I'm happy to be.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if it will continue with all the other movies, but I feel like I'm not I'm not holding back in anything I want to do. And if
Mhm.
that makes it extreme because of the vision I have, then but so if that makes sense, yeah, I don't
No, no,
know.
I no,
Yeah,
I
so
think that's a great answer.
yeah, so but I think it's great, and it's a great film. The documentary, it was wonderful to be a part of it, and I think that
Mm,
Nightmares Film Festival is really the reason I'm part of it, because
mm.
they were there at the time and they saw the movie, and we got connected, and then I won the award, and then it was like, okay, well, this needs to be part of it too. So um,
Wow.
yeah, and they're great people. So
Mm.
yeah, so
That's
um,
awesome.
yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
enjoy it because they did a great job. I mean, I say they, but here's so there was two different versions.
Okay.
This one, Jesse and Marcus, but so this is like probably going to be reversed, but it's this is the original version,
Okay.
that came out from them directly,
Mm.
and then now this is the original, the real one, is the with the distribution and everything is the one that's coming out now. So that one I
Yeah.
have too in the way, and I love the cover. It's like he's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's funny. So
Did
yeah.
you did you, I guess after watching it and being part of it, did you go like seek out all these films?
Um, some of them I've seen, and
Okay.
some of them I'm like, mm,
Not for you.
maybe that's not where yeah, maybe not for me. So,
Yeah.
but some of them are. You're like, oh yeah, I need to see that. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting because I honestly thought the violence was real in 2019, or not all of it, but so
yeah.
I just assumed you were like fully in on that whole unsimulated, like, self mutilation kind of
Yeah.
cinema or whatever. But you're not. So yeah,
No,
and you
no,
haven't delved into that at all, like watched any of it.
no, and yeah, so no. I think the fake stuff is a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I out of curiosity, I'll check out the odd thing here and there, and I think
Yeah.
there's interesting filmmakers doing stuff. But at the end of the day, I love movie as like a magic trick.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I love seeing what people can trick me into like believing. And
Right.
it sounds
Right.
like your film did that so much. So I'm still like, what? Now I need to watch it again.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
That's wild.
that's a lot of the times is like sometimes the more subtle you do with things, in parts, um, make it seem like it's more realistic, like it's happening, like
Hmm.
that it's not faked in any way. So we were able to do some really simple stuff, just with cutaways, or there was a lot of cutaways because I used one camera, and we did multiple shots of the same thing, from different
Mm,
angles. So
yeah.
um, we just repeated it. It was like, and then we're able to kind of at that point in time take, you know, snip something and bring it down in size and look like
Oh.
it's inserted. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah,
Like that could be like five different scenes or
yeah, yeah. And
like
then
yeah.
it sounds like something's breaking, and that's just an audio kind of sound that was added. So
Right, right.
yeah,
But
so
there was I know you've told this story, so I won't get you to go through it all over again, but something happened involving fingers with Brooke, right? And
yes,
getting stuck in Brooke's
yeah,
body.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So that
yeah.
was unsimulated.
Well, yes. I mean, it was all fake fingers,
Fake fingers
um,
in a real
and
body.
in a real body. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That
Yeah.
that that. See, that whole thing was we were all cracking up. It was filmmaking should be fun. It shouldn't be
Yeah.
torture. But we were having a lot of fun until that happened, where it was like, oh, these fingers, they're not coming out. So
Oh.
yeah. Okay, how are we gonna do this? Yeah, yeah,
And I feel like that would be a good short horror film in itself, you know?
yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah, and I think that idea comes up a lot in my mind of just, we were talking about this before of of like communication needing to be 100% clear. And if someone
yeah,
came to a set and then found out, oh, I have to do this for real, and then things
yeah,
like backfiring, there's a lot
yeah,
of
yeah,
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 lot you could do
yeah.
with that.
Brooke was 100% in, and there was things that Brooke wanted to do that I was like, no, we're not doing that. You know,
Oh wow,
yeah, yeah. So we're
could
keeping it all,
you?
we're keeping it all fake, and
Would you be able to disclose any of those? Because I'm very curious now.
there was hints about animal stuff,
Oh yeah,
and I'm like, I'm not doing that,
yeah.
and then some of real cutting,
Okay.
and things like that. Uh, I was like, I'm not doing that. There's no need to, because we can
Yeah,
make it look like you did it. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah, we're not. So I didn't need to go to those places. So yeah,
yeah, yeah. Because then your movie ends up on didthedogdie.com or something, and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you don't want that.
No,
There
no,
was a dog in one scene,
that
which I
was my
felt,
dog.
and your dog was fine.
Yes. My
Okay,
dog just walked through the scene, and we're like, "Okay,
that's
we'll
enough. That's
keep it
like,
like toot, toot, toot."
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's all
Yeah,
you need.
that's just like, "Okay, that's enough." Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I'm really glad that that didn't continue.
yeah,
As I'm
yeah,
sure, I think that was the point. Was you're supposed to make the viewer feel like we can't really trust you, like you,
yeah,
Scott. You know what I mean? Like
yes,
we can't
yeah,
trust the director here. We don't
right,
know what he's going to show us. You
right,
know,
right. Yeah.
our contract as the audience, it's it doesn't feel safe.
Well, and that's why I was right out from the beginning scene, I kind of wanted to throw a lot against the wall to kind of, just to show people, okay, well, if you can't, this is what's sticking, and this is what you got to
Okay.
get through. If you can't get through this first scene, then you might not want to see the rest of it. So, um,
Oh, right, right, right. I had to
you
remember
know,
what the
and it's not even that bad, but it was like, when Brooke was young, and you know, so
Brooke was
and like,
young.
okay,
What do you
there
mean?
was a short period of time where it's like almost a flashback, and it's like whenever um, so it was with an older man, and
Right.
there was bruises, and so yeah, yeah.
Oh, and so Brooke was younger, but not.
That was a different character playing that Brooke being
Oh,
young.
okay.
So,
Gotcha,
but
gotcha.
it was that
Okay.
scene. Yeah, yeah. So yeah,
Oh, so then that would have been the first time that I, because I was talking about that
early.
earlier, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
early on,
Okay.
but might not have been the first, but it was early on. So
Okay.
yeah,
That was
yeah,
the first. That was an early hit or
early hit.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Trying to
yeah,
connect it back to the drug addiction
yeah,
thing. I don't know if it's
yeah.
working, but well,
Yes,
you
yeah,
said it was. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up then. But yeah, thank you
Fantastic.
so much for
Yeah,
talking to me for the past
thank you.
hour. And yeah, is there anything else that you wanted to plug or?
I don't know, just support cinema. It's like, important, and
Hmm.
you know, get out there and watch whatever you can.
Yeah. Are you like caught up in the strike right now?
I'm not caught up in it. I know I have a lot of people that I know uh, are striking, and there's every reason to. So,
Yeah.
you know, um, AI is a tool to be
Hmm.
used by artists, not to take the place of artists.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, I think that support cinema, support independent cinema, support any of that. Have fun.
Is there
Yeah.
any other like independent filmmakers right now that you'd want to maybe plug, like people that you're kind of excited about?
Um, I don't think that they need a plug. I think that I don't know. I, I just you just watch whatever you can.
Okay.
Just get out there and explore. I read a
Yeah.
lot too, so I just have fun with reading horror, and I only
Yeah.
read
Yeah.
horror. And I
Oh,
just
okay.
yeah, it's weird. I like, okay, no, I don't want to read any of the other type of books, but um,
Mm.
so I um, yeah, just support the arts in any way you
Yeah.
can.
There's a world
Yeah,
of art out there.
yeah.
Dive right in
Dive
and
right
just
in.
keep
Yeah,
swimming. Keep swimming.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, Scott. I'll let you go then. Yeah, and have a
Okay.
great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Okay. Take care.
You too. Bye bye.